The number of viharas in Tamarlipti, modern Tamluk, in Midnapur district, had decreased from 24 at the time of Fashian to over 10 at the time of Xuanzang, and to just 5 or 6 monasteries at the time of I Ching, who visited India between 676 and 685 of the Common Era. Xuanzang also saw Buddhism was clearly declining in Pundarvardhan, Samtat, and Karan from the 7th century onwards, Brahmanical Hinduism began to enjoy increasingly more court patronage, and by the 11th century, even the Palas, earlier enthusiastic patrons of Buddhism, began to favor the cults of Shiva and Vishnu. Medieval Bengal presents itself as a kind of potpourri of the shifting beliefs, where a deity called Satyapir came into origin, which was being worshipped enthusiastically by Hindus, Buddhists, and Muslims. Interestingly, with the arrival of Islam in Bengal, various Buddhistic cults such as Dharma cult came increasingly under the influence of Islam. According to Xuanzang, in the country of Kamrup, that is Assam, people did not believe in Buddhism, and up to the time of his visit, no viharas had been built there to invite Buddhist monks. Now the region of Sindh, the Punjab, and the Northwest. When Xuanzang travelled through Sindh, he saw ruins of monasteries in Sindh, and of the more than 10,000 Buddhist monks in Sindh, most were indolent people, according to him, with a corrupt character. Though Buddhism had substantially declined in Sindh, when Muhammad bin Qasim invaded Sindh in 711, the Arab invasion appears to have dealt a coup de grace to it. According to Hecho, who visited Sindh between 724 and 727, the Arabs controlled half of the territory of Western India and Sindh, and had ravaged, according to him, half of the present-day Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Sindh. The jizya levied on the dhimmis, the so-called protected subjects, Hindus, Buddhists, and Jainas, was as an unbearably additional tax that must have driven many impoverished dhimmis into the arms of Islam. Docile dhimmitude of the Buddhists appears to have caused their conversion to Islam faster than the Hindus. Moreover, many Buddhist merchants and artisans in Sindh voluntarily converted to Islam as it made better business sense. The success of Muslims attracted even sometimes economically necessitated conversion. That is, urban mercantile Buddhists may have hoped that the Arab conquest would reopen interregional trade routes, both maritime and overland, and hence benefit their class. Thus, they had good reason to perceive that mercantile interests would be better served under an Arab empire. However, the calculations of the Buddhist merchants of Sindh were went terribly wrong. They were not only replaced by their Arab counterparts, but the discriminatory policies of the Arabs made it impossible for the dhimmi merchants to compete with them. So discriminatory customs regulations considerably reduced the capacity of the Buddhist merchants of Sindh to compete at par with Muslims in large-scale inter-regional commerce. To participate in the new inter-regional trade was in many ways to become Arab, and if Arab, then necessarily Muslim. As a result of these factors, Buddhist merchants of Sindh found it increasingly difficult to compete with Muslim merchants on an equal footing in the revived commerce. They felt that their precarious condition was caused by the fact that they were non-Muslims, whereas their Muslim counterparts were prospering for the simple reason that they were Muslims. Thus, it is no surprise that the religious solution of converting to Islam would have been a plausible option among these urban mercantile Buddhists experiencing relative deprivation in Arab Sindh. It is reasonable to conclude that Buddhism died out in Sindh during the course of Arab rule. Indeed, the absence of Arab period artifacts in Buddhist sites suggests a relatively early date for its institutional deterioration and decline. As the archaeological remains from the Punjab and northwestern parts of India generally show either desertion of urban centers after the Kushana period or a sharp decline in the Gupta period followed by a break in occupation. According to Fashian, in the country of Picha in Punjab, both the Hinayana and Mahayana schools of Buddhism were prosperous and flourishing, but Xuanzang saw just 10 viharas in the country of Shtadru, that is Sirhind, all of which were in desolation and had only few monks. The site of Sanghol near Sirhind had declined in the pre-Gupta period. In Mulstanpur, that is Multan, according to Xuanzang, only a few people believed in Buddhism and there were more than 10 viharas, mostly dilapidated, with a few unaffiliated monks. However, Hecho in 720s found Buddhism flourishing in Jalandhar with many monasteries and monks of both Mahayana and Hinayana schools. According to Fashian, Buddhism was universally honored in the country of Udyan, that is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which had about 500 Sangha aramas of Hinayana. However, Xuanzang saw most of the viharas in this region in ruins, with the number of monks gradually reduced. When Hecho arrived in Udyan, he saw many viharas and monks for whose sport the king had donated many villages and their inhabitants. Hecho also points out that there were slightly more monks than laymen in Udyan. Later, when Wukong visited Udyan, it still remained a center of Buddhism. Buddhism was found in a flourishing condition by Fashian in the country of Swat. Hecho points out that the king of Chittal was a follower of Buddhism and there were many monasteries and monks. Though in the country of Gandhara, Xuanzang found all of the more than 1,000 viharas dilapidated and deserted, Gandhara continued to be the center of Buddhism till Wukong visited here. In the country of Takshila, where urbanization had begun to decline from the Gupta period onwards, Xuanzang found most of the viharas in ruins with a few monks. Buddhism appears to have survived in parts of the Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa till at least the 11th century of the Common Era. For instance, the Hindu Shahi rulers of Punjab who ruled, for instance, the Hindu Shahi rulers of the Punjab who ruled from Udan Bhandpur, modern Hund, to the north of Attock, 1870 to 1026 of the Common Era, are said to have supported local Buddhist institutions until Bhimpal, the last Hindu Shahi, who was killed in a battle against the Ghaznavids.